All right, welcome back. This is the Cherish Each Moment podcast, and it is episode 2. Episode 2. Glad you're here. Thanks for being here. Thanks for taking some time to hang out and to hear what's going on in my world, in my lawn. Well, this episode isn't really going to be about my lawn because I've been traveling, and I want to recap on my travels and what's been going on and what I've been doing and some of the memories that I experienced over the weekend, and just kind of catch you up on some things and let you know what's going on. And that's really the whole intention of this podcast, is to talk about the things I did over the past week or so, give or take. I'm not going to commit myself to anything concrete with this podcast just yet, but I want to talk about what's been going on, a little behind the scenes action, and stuff like that. Talk about what's going on and things that I've seen in the professional world. In this case tonight, I want to just kind of share something I saw that was pretty cool from the latest PGA Tour event, TPC Sawgrass Players Championship, and talk about my trip to Florida. So that's what's going on the podcast today, and I can't wait to get started. Here we go. All right, let's get started. As always, if there's anything that you want me to talk about on this podcast, anything in future episodes you want me to cover, please feel free. Shoot me an email, jimmy@jimmylewismose.com. I do check my email every day, sometimes more than I should. So shoot me an email, let me know your ideas, things you might want me to talk about, touch on, questions that you want me to answer, advice, anything goes. So hit me up. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you want me to talk about. I want to get started before I get into my Florida stories and just kind of a summary of what I did over the weekend. I want to talk about things that happened before then during the week. In particular, a tweet that I saw in my Twitter feed from the PGA Tour. I do follow the PGA Tour on Twitter. I also follow a lot of head greenskeepers and head groundskeepers for various golf courses and sports fields around the country. But in particular, this past week, a tweet from the PGA Tour caught my eye because there was a video there, and I've got it up in front of me. And for those of you watching on the YouTube channel, I will put a clip of this on the video so that you guys can see this, as well as a link to the tweet. I did retweet it on my Twitter feed. If you're not following me on the Twitters, @JimmyLewis_1, and you'll be able to find me there. But PGA Tour posted a video of the grounds crew, their agronomy team, mowing the roughs. And there are probably, I don't know, I'll have to count them, at least 5 or 6 guys here. In total, there were 24 operators. They're pushing 20-inch hand mowers. I'm not sure if these are self-propelled or not. I think they are, because they're going uphill there, and it doesn't look like they're putting any effort into it other than just their own to get up the hill. They're not really pushing these mowers. That looks like they're at least rear-wheel drive, it looks like. The agronomy team uses only 20-inch hand mowers to minimize footprint and achieve the cleanest cut in the roughs here. They say it took 24 operators 5 hours to cut 50 acres of primary rough. That's just the rough. And they're doing this with 20-inch mowers. That's insane. That's crazy. And it's cool, the strategy that they use to do it. It's kind of like, I can relate this to Utah when you get a snowstorm. If any of you live in a state that gets good snow, you know that the snow plows will line up and they're kind of offset behind each other. so that they can all work together to push that snow off to the side of the highway. The mowers, the guys pushing the mowers here, are kind of in the same pattern, one kind of in front of the other, and they're just working their way around the rough in a circular pattern here. Pretty interesting to watch. I thought that was super, super cool. It's really incredible. If you're not following, obviously the PGA Tour is good to follow. You get good golf shots, and occasionally they'll post really interesting clips like this one. But more particularly, if you follow along with people who work in the industry, specifically golf courses or sports fields, there's some good people out there that will post interesting things like this, and it's kind of cool to learn from them and to get some tips and things that you might even be able to incorporate into your own strategy in your own yard at home. So that's why I like following them. I think those are pretty cool. But yeah, super awesome. Players Championship, TPC Sawgrass, the infamous 17th hole. The green surrounded by water, always entertaining and super fun to watch. I actually watched part of the final round on the plane from 30,000 feet. So heading home from Florida, I was watching a little bit of that while I was editing some videos, and I'll have some videos coming out from this trip. It's going to be pretty good. The first one did launch today. Today is March 16th, and I released my first video from the weekend, from the trip, mowing at Mr. Alan Haynes' house, the Lawn Care Nut headquarters. I did mow the front lawn, the Floratam and the Palmetto St. Augustine grass. My very first experience walking barefoot on St. Augustine grass, and my first experience ever mowing St. Augustine grass, and my first experience mowing with Toro's time cutter. As you guys know who follow Alan, he's got the Toro time cutter. It was the first one ever purchased in the U.S. He likes to brag about that. And it's got the My Ride seat on it, and I can tell you it is nice. And I think I make that pretty clear in the video. So if you haven't checked out that video yet, go over to my primary channel and check that out. It's a good one. Lots and lots of fun times and lots of laughs had over the weekend in Florida. My dad went with me, and I brought him along because we were going to do some fishing, and my dad loves fishing. So brought him along, and I think he had a great time too. We did go fishing Saturday morning. Flew in Friday, got there Friday night. Saturday morning up and early, went fishing out on the Manatee River near Tampa Bay, and we were doing some flats fishing and caught some jacks, and we caught some snooks. No reds though, but we did have a good time. I got off to a really bad start. Tell you what, the guys were giving me a hard time about it. I was getting my line tangled. It had been a while since I'd been fishing, I'll admit. But I do think I redeemed myself, but it wasn't until after I caught a bird. We were fishing with live bait, and the boat captain would occasionally throw. He had sawed off a plastic baseball bat, like a wiffle ball bat, and he'd load up some live bait in there and just chuck it out into the water to attract the fish to that area. And the birds are attracted by that as well. It's free food, right? They just dive down out of the sky and grab it. And it's pretty cool to watch. But when they dive down out of the sky and grab the live bait that's on the end of your hook, on the end of your line, you're in trouble. And yeah, that's what happened to me. And I hooked a bird, and that was a bad deal. I couldn't reel it in. We ended up cutting the line. Kind of unfortunate. Yeah, everybody giving me crap about getting my lines caught, and then catching a bird just didn't really help my cause. Yeah, had quite the hole to dig myself out of there. But I think I redeemed myself. I ended up catching a few fish, and trying to, keep up with everybody else. I was doing really well. Everybody else in the boat was having fine luck. But once I got a feel for it, it got easier, obviously. And I will say on my last cast, the very last cast of the trip, I did catch the biggest snook of the day. So I'll take it. Very, very fun. Very, very thankful to Alan for having me out and hosting me and my dad, and Brett as well. Brett was there all along the whole time, and it was an awesome time. We had a great time, and it was really nice to actually get out of the cold climate and, get some Florida sun, get some vitamin D, and just have a great, great time. And we did. We had a really great time. So very thankful to Alan and Brett for making that possible, for having us out, hosting us, and Alan especially for showing us around his hometown, where he grew up, where he lives now. And there's always, cool stories when you hang out with someone who's been there as long as he has. Really cool to get to know the area a little bit, and we barely saw any of it. In fact, he said we probably saw maybe 10% of St. Petersburg. But we did see some cool things. We saw downtown, saw the beach, and had a great time. I did go see Yard Mastery's headquarters and check out the new warehouse that they've got going on over there. And my picture, I am happy to announce, is not in the bathroom. It's in the merch room, which I think is a good spot for it. And I dropped off my banner. I had a banner made, this one right here, right behind me. Drop that off so that they can hang it up with the other banners that they've been receiving from everybody in the community, which is pretty cool. But yeah, cool operation. They're already outgrowing it, which is amazing. I'm really happy for them. I think what they're doing is just completely awesome. Alan is living the American dream. He's started his own company, building his own business, and helping people out at the same time, in more ways than one. So I think that's just awesome, and I really wish them all the best, and I think they're in a really good spot, and I'm excited to see their growth and how they grow in the next few years or so. It's going to be really fun to watch. But yeah, I do have a video coming out of Yard Mastery headquarters. That will be out soon, probably end of the week. I'm not sure when this video is going to come out, whether that's before or after that video drops, who knows, but hopefully you'll watch all of it. So yeah, Yard Mastery headquarters, very cool. I bet they're not in that space for another year or two more before they have to expand, which is super exciting. After that, we went to Brett's house, Brett's new house down in Florida, which is only a few minutes away from the Yard Mastery warehouse, which is pretty cool, pretty convenient for him. He's got that new Bimini Bermuda grass that he just put down in his yard a few weeks ago, and it's getting to the point where you don't realize that it was sod, because all the seams are starting to mesh together, and it's starting to clean itself up, and it's starting to green up too, and it's looking really, really good. Obviously the camera doesn't really do it justice, but it is really nice looking grass, and it definitely stands out in the neighborhood. But I was able to mow it, and I was able to mow it with his new used, bought from an auction, sight unseen, Toro Flex 21 greens mower, and it is just that. It is a greens mower. The maximum height of cut on this thing is half an inch. So he is cutting this short. He is cutting it at half an inch. And the nice thing about that flex unit is the cutting head moves with the contour of the yard, with the grass, which I think would be perfect for my yard, because it is not smooth by any means. But it's good enough to cut at 3/4 of an inch. So yeah, I think having a flex unit like that would be awesome. Definitely would help things around here for sure. And it's a nice mower. I think he did really well. I think he picked a good one, and I think, as time goes by and as he puts more time into it, cleans it up a little bit more, and I think he's going to really enjoy that. I think he already does, to be honest. That was super fun to mow the Bermuda. That was the first time I've ever stepped on Bermuda. And speaking of stepping on grass, going back to Alan's house, I forgot to mention, I walked on it barefoot. I can't remember if I said that yet or not, but I walked on his grass barefoot. And anybody I've ever talked to, I don't know about you, but anybody I've ever talked to says, don't walk on St. Augustine grass barefoot. You can't do that. You'll cut your feet. You've probably heard that before. But I have to tell you, when you walk on St. Augustine grass that has been well nurtured and has been well taken care of, it doesn't cut your feet. In fact, it's very cushy. It feels like you're stepping on a pillow, kind of. It feels very soft, and it just kind of absorbs you. And it's thick. But yeah, the grass blades themselves don't feel like they're cutting your feet when the grass is taken care of. So I just want to point that out. First time I ever walked on St. Augustine grass barefoot, and first time I ever saw Bermuda grass in person, knowing that it was Bermuda grass. Obviously, I don't have a lot of experience with southern grass types because I've never lived down there, and I've never really spent much time down there, especially during this time in my life where I actually care about grass. Obviously, going to Florida as a kid or going wherever in that grass type area as a kid, you don't care. In fact, even before a few years ago, I wouldn't have cared. So lots of firsts over the weekend, and really, really fun. I also I used 3 lawnmowers at Brett's house, by the way. The Toro Flex 21. I used the Aaron's zero turn. I'm trying to remember the model number. The Icon 42, I think is what it is. Yeah, zero turn mower. That's the same one. If you haven't seen that video that he brought it over to my house right before we moved, and we used that in my backyard. Same mower. He's cutting that backyard down at 1.5 inches, I believe. And I will say, he lucked out with his backyard. It is super smooth, super flat, and he's got a big league roller on the back of that thing. And I'm happy to report that I laid down some really nice stripes back there. And that mower cuts really well at a low height of cut. 1.5 inches did really good. I did miss a couple spots that I have to go back and clean up. But hey, that's all right. Super fun. The last mower that I ended up using at his house was the Sunjoe battery-powered reel mower. And that was interesting. That was something that I told him ahead of time that I wanted to make sure that I was able to do while I was there. I know a lot of people are starting to gain interest in reel mowing and getting into that. And obviously that barrier to entry with reel mowing is pretty high financially if you want to invest in, a golf course lawn mower, greens mower, or a greens master that's like mine that's used for tee boxes and fairways. Depending on where you live, you can spend a pretty penny to get a used mower. And so having a battery-powered reel mower as an option that's only a couple $100 makes that barrier of entry a little easier, especially if you have a small yard. I would say no more than 1,500 feet. 2,000 is even pushing it. It's a 15-inch wide cutting width. And battery-powered, I think he's got 12,000 square feet in his backyard, and he said that he cut all of that on a single charge. So battery life is good. The cut quality is impressive. I was surprised. I think it's an 8-blade reel. I might be wrong. I'll have to double check on that. But I only went over maybe 500 square feet, maybe, with it. And I'll say, first of all, I did break the 1/3 rule the first time I used it. The first couple passes I mowed, it was probably 2 inches, maybe 2.5 inches, down to 0.6, I think is what it was set at. So massively breaking the 1/3 rule, and it handled it really well, better than I expected it would. I will say the things I didn't like about it, there's no way for you to stop the blade from moving while you're transporting it. If you push that thing forward, the reel's going to spin and it cuts. So you just need to be aware of that. You might need to pick it up and carry it, or tilt it back. But the other thing I didn't like about it was you have to push it to make it go. It will not power itself along. You have to push it, and that can get pretty tiring after a while. Like I said, bigger yards, this is not for you. You want to pick a smaller area if you want to get into reel mowing and start with this mower, because you don't want to be pushing it around a lot, because you're going to get tired and it's going to get frustrating and stuff like that. But having the battery to be able to spin the reel for you and take care of that is really nice, because then you get a consistent cut as long as you keep a nice walking pace, and it works out well. I did take it over to an area that I had mowed with the Aaron's machine, so I brought the height of cut down and mowed it, and it cut even better. And obviously if you double cut, it looks even better. So I think if you're looking for a reel mower to start with, to kind of get your feet wet in the reel mowing world, and you don't want to spend a crazy amount of money to get a mower that you might not even want to keep, I think that's a good place to start. Thinking back to the Sunjo reel mower that's not battery powered, the manual reel mower that I have in the garage still, if I were to have this option of having a battery one, I'd probably go for the battery one, to be honest. But yeah, that it would just be nice if it had a wider cutting width. That would be really nice. I would like that. But yeah, that was a lot of fun, and it was great to see Brett again, and to actually get to a warmer climate. And we were 80 degrees, high 70s. It was really, really nice. Really, really good trip. And I'm very thankful to have been able to have gone, and for the good times that were had there. Lots and lots of laughs. Oh my gosh, it was fun. Can't wait to get back down there and do it again. So great trip to Florida, and now it's on to combing through all the footage that I got, editing the videos, getting them out as soon as possible, and having those memories to look back on for a long, long time. So there we go. That's what went on over the weekend, and now it's looking towards starting the season here and what's ahead, and that's what I'll talk about next. All right, so what's next? What is going on coming up here in my lawn now that I'm back home? Well, we are in the midst of the teasing season, and since the last episode of this new podcast of mine, I have done pretty much nothing in my lawn. Obviously, I was gearing up for the Florida trip, and like I said, teasing season, and for those of you who don't know what that means, the teasing season is that seasonal transition time between winter and spring. And I don't know about where you live, but at least here in Utah, it feels like we just don't want to give up winter. And, spring is showing that it wants to be here. We'll get days where we're hitting 60 degrees. I think we've even hit 68 already this year. And then no more than a few days pass and there's snow on the ground. So it's like that, if that makes any sense. I think that's a pretty clear definition of what teasing season is. So that's where we're at right now. We have gotten a couple of very light snows. In fact, it snowed while I was in Florida, which was hilarious. I'm out in 80 degrees outside, just loving it. And I look on my phone, checking the cameras at home to see what's going on outside, and there's snow on the ground and snow on the grass, and it's just like, whew, glad I'm not there for that. So, yeah, we're in teasing season. I expect the next couple weeks or so, pre-emergent's going to be going down. I did mention in the last episode that I'd have the Lesco Barricade 007 with prodiamine. I'll be using that in the backyard. I'm not going to be putting down any pre-emergent in the front yard because there's new grass seed growing there, and it is growing. There is new grass coming up in the dead area. New grass is there. You can see it from distance because it looks greener and it's filling in, and you can see it up close for sure. And the backyard's starting to green up as well, which is nice. I haven't mowed in the backyard yet. I do need to get a mower back there as soon as possible and just kind of not scalp it, but, take the mower down a notch or so and cut it and just kind of, tell the lawn it's time to go. But that's in the plans. I do still think I want to get a couple of plugs over into that area that I killed off. I was kind of waiting on getting my Pro Plugger ready to go. It comes with these metal rings that you can put on the end of the device to limit the depth that it goes into the ground. I think one's 2 inches, one's 4 inches, and then if you don't put any of the rings on there, it's 6 inches that it will go down and pull a plug. So I lost those, and I figured if I ordered new ones, I'd find them, and that hasn't been the case. So the new ones are here now, and I can go ahead and do the plugs probably sometime this week. I think I'll do that. We've gotten some rain in the last 24 hours, and I think there's some more coming. And so the ground will be nice and soft, and will be easier to pull some plugs out of there and kind of transplant them into that area, which I think will be really helpful. And there's a couple other areas that probably need a little help too. Another thing I want to do is get some micronutrients going and get those microorganisms happy and working. So some humic acid will go down, some RGS, root growth stimulant. The next CK product is something that's on my radar. I do have some on the way here. I'm excited to try that out. For those of you that have watched my videos, you know that last year I was using the Cytogrow from Ecologel, their BioPro line. They have a product called Cytogrow, which is basically just highly concentrated sea kelp. And the next CK is very similar as well. Very highly concentrated sea kelp, and it's designed to stimulate root growth and feed the microorganisms down there. So excited to use that. I want to get that down in the ground as soon as possible. And yeah, should be good. So that's what's on my radar this week. Just kind of waiting it out and doing what I can in the meantime. One thing I'm pretty sure of that I'm going to have to be conscious of this year is water conservation. I'm already seeing things from the city that I live in. They're posting about managing water and cracking down on water use and things like that. So need to make sure that I'm aware of that and planning that. Obviously, there's products I can use to manage the stress tolerance of the lawn. Potassium is one thing to start out with, and that's something that I've been really trying to keep an eye on the last year or so as I've followed my last soil test. Still waiting actually on this year's soil test results. I imagine they'll be ready for me any day. I'll just have to keep an eye out for that, and then that will be very, very helpful going forward to know what's what and what needs to be done. So definitely looking for that. And obviously Hydrotane will still be used in my program, in my strategy, to help manage moisture and keep it where it needs to be. So that's the plan for for the next little while coming up anyways, until we can start throwing down some fertilizer and mowing more consistently and enjoying the season as it comes. So I think that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for me tonight. As I said earlier, let me know if there's anything that you want me to talk about in future episodes, any topics you want me to cover, anything you want me to discuss, share my opinions on, things like that. Shoot me an email, Jimmy@JimmyLewisMose.com. Thanks so much for listening. We'll catch you next time.